Hi, welcome to Come Study with me, Elder Brock. Today, we will be looking at 1 Samuel chapters 29 through 31. Chapter 29. The Philistines gathered for war, and David marched with Achish. On the outside, it looked like David had gained the trust of a Philistine king. But the lords of the Philistines were not at peace. They remembered Israel. They remembered the songs. They remembered Goliath. And they said, "This Hebrew cannot go down with us to battle." Achish defended David, but the rulers would not bend. So David was sent away, back to Ziklag. At first, it looked like rejection. It looked like humiliation. It looked like a door closing in his face. But the mercy of God was in that closed door. The Lord would not let David rise by fighting against Israel. Even in a compromised place, God was still guarding him. Sometimes the Lord protects us by stopping us. Sometimes He says no, because He sees the disaster we do not see. David left that chapter without honor from the world, but he left with protection from God. Heaven can say no for our salvation. And here, the Lord was quietly preserving the future king. The true king of Israel would not rise by betraying Israel. Chapter 30. When David and his men came back to Ziklag, they did not come home to peace. They came home to ashes. The city was burned. Their families were gone. The Amalekites had carried them away. David and his men wept. They wept until they had no more power to weep. Then sorrow turned into bitterness. The men spoke of stoning David. This was one of the darkest moments of his life. But David did something holy. He strengthened himself in the Lord his God. He did not begin with panic. He did not begin with blame. He turned to God first. Then he asked, "Shall I pursue after this troop?" And the Lord answered plainly, "Pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover all." That is the heart of the chapter. David sought the Lord before he moved. Along the way, the Lord provided help. An Egyptian servant left behind to die became the guide to the enemy camp. What looked small became decisive. Then David struck the Amalekites, and he recovered all. The wives were recovered. The sons and daughters were recovered. The possessions were recovered. Nothing was lacking. Then David showed grace. Some wanted to shut the weary men out from the blessing, but David would not allow it. The Lord had given the victory, so the blessing would be shared. Chapter 30 teaches us what to do when life falls apart. Seek the Lord first. Ask before you move. Trust Him in the ashes. And remember that the God of Israel still knows how to recover all. Chapter 31. Then the story turns dark. The Philistines fought against Israel on Mount Gilboa, and the men of Israel fled. Saul's sons were struck down. Jonathan fell. Abinadab fell. Malchishua fell. Then the battle reached Saul. The archers wounded him badly. He told his armor-bearer to draw the sword and kill him. But the armor-bearer was afraid. So Saul took a sword and fell upon it. When the armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he fell upon his own sword also. So Saul died that day, and his sons died, and his house fell under the weight of judgment. The next day brought even more shame. The Philistines found the bodies. They cut off Saul's head. They stripped his armor. They fastened his body to the wall of Bethshan. This is a painful ending. Saul did not begin this way. He began with calling. He began with opportunity. He was chosen and anointed. But fear replaced faith. Pride overruled obedience. And the ruin inside him finally became visible on the outside. Yet the chapter still gives one small beam of honor. The men of Jabesh Gilead remembered what Saul had once done for them. So they rose up by night. They took the bodies down, and they gave them burial. 1 Samuel ends in grief. It ends in warning. It ends with a kingdom in collapse. But it also makes us long for a better king. Beyond Saul stands David. And beyond David stands Jesus Christ. Saul fell under sin and death. Jesus Christ faced sin without yielding to it. He faced death without being conquered by it. And he rose again in victory. So the last word is not only sorrow. It is also a call. Do not drift where Saul drifted. Do not harden your heart when God speaks. Trust the King who cannot fall. The kingdoms of men crumble, but Jesus Christ remains forever.